This is the Warminster Town Football Club Supporter Podcast. This is the podcast by supporters for supporters. We bring you match reports, interviews, and much more. We travel both home and away to bring you the excitement of non-league football to wherever you are. Well, a very warm welcome to you all. It's been a while since we've done a podcast due to the situation, as we know, with COVID-19, and we'll have a little chat about that with Jamie House coming up shortly. This is an introductory podcast to kick season 3 off. We've got lots planned for you for this season. So we have guest interviews, and there will be a guest interview in this episode. We're looking forward to having more chats with the management team from Warminster Town, and also bringing in more information about our new ladies team and interviewing people from the team as well. We're looking forward to having some more player interviews this season as well. Many more players. So if you're out there, players listening to this, be ready. Be very ready, because we're coming with a microphone for you. Don't be scared. It's not that bad. And certainly we've got lots of features lined up throughout the season. So please do subscribe to this podcasting channel on whatever platform you like. But now we're going to talk to Mr. Jamie House. Well, we should have Jamie House on the line, and we're back for a new season, season 3, episode 1 of the podcast. How are you doing, Jamie?
I'm good. It's great to be back.
It is indeed. It's a long time. Because of obviously the COVID situation and the end of the season. I know we did a couple of little podcasts to keep things going, but wow, what a relief to be back.
Oh, it is. It's been, 5-6 months? It's been absolutely crazy.
Yeah, but there we are. We are now coming to the end of August as we record this, and looking forward to, getting the season underway on September the 5th, and perhaps we'll talk about that in a moment. But we've had a few friendlies already, so perhaps it'd be just good to review what's happened so far on the pre-season matches. Just want to run through what we've done so far.
Absolutely, yeah. We've managed to squeeze a few pre-seasons in. We were allowed to. The government allowed pre-seasons to go ahead in August. So we started off with a away trip at Wick on the edge of Bristol. First game back, so that was great to see some live football again. And that one sadly ended 2-1 to Wick. And Wick played very well, admittedly. They were a very good side, actually, I thought. Gave us a really good game. They played some nice football. I might expect to see them maybe in our league, or going up to a league at a league above at some point. So yeah, that was a good game on a very, very hot day. That was an absolutely stonking day, that one. And then we had Melksham at home. Oh, no, we had Frome away, didn't we?
Yes.
That's one we didn't go to. That was a bit of a late one. We played Frome away midweek.
Day, I believe. Frome had a cancellation, so it was training day. So Andy said, let's have a game. Okay,
have a training game instead.
Yes, yeah. So unfortunately, I had plans, and you probably had plans, and we couldn't get there.
Yes, yeah, unfortunately so. But yeah, we did have a midweek game away at Frome, which ended 4-0 to Frome, obviously. Then we had Melksham at home, and usually on a Friday evening, rather than a Saturday. And that was a tough game for us. But we managed to hold our own for the most part. Some stunning saves from both our goalkeepers in that game, as we have been switching goalkeepers every half for all these pre-seasons, with Nathan Bull starting in the first half and Callum Hoteen in the second. So yeah, that was an interesting game. We came into it a bit more in the second half, I think, and that one only ended 2-0, so that wasn't too bad against higher league opposition. Then we had Odd Down, a Bath-based team, come visit. We were supposed to go to their place, obviously, but due to the weather, their pitch was not playable, so they came to us instead. And that was a very good game. Warminster played very well in that game. An excellent free kick from Harry Barnes put us in front. Sadly, the second half. The second half we still play very well. I just lapsed in concentration for no more than a minute. Allowed them to score 2 goals, and then a penalty was given away at the end of the game as well. That one ended 4-1. So the scoreline doesn't reflect how Warminster played for the majority of the game. So positives to take from that game. And then we had obviously the big derby, the big one, Westbury United away just this weekend, just this Saturday gone, yesterday in fact. And again, that was a good game. Warminster played really well first half. We were, really pegging Westbury back, getting a lot of chances in and around the area. And eventually it took Jack Millock running in, I think on the 43rd minute or something like that.
Yeah.
To belt an absolute cracker into the top right-hand corner on his left foot, weaker foot. So, that was good. And then the second half, well, I don't really know what happened in the second half, but I think Westbury went up a gear and I think we went down one. And unfortunately, it ended 4-2 with Westbury scoring all 4 of their goals in the second half. So a bit of suspect defending in the second half. Although we did get pull one back at 3-1 to make it 3-2. Dilitso Madsen putting a nice little chip over the Westbury keeper, but that ended 4-2 in the end. So positives to take from the pre-seasons. I think we've got one more to go, and that's Bradford Town on Tuesday.
That's right. We've got to say we're playing, apart from Wick, because it's difficult to assess where they are in the Gloucestershire League in comparison to Division 1 of our league, but certainly we're playing Premiership teams, or Frome even higher than that. So, we've done pretty well. You say the little moments it's just flattered the other team slightly.
Absolutely, yeah.
The Melksham game, we could have been 5-0 down quite early on because they absolutely pecked the goal, didn't they? They missed a few, and Nathan Ball pulled off some good saves, but we held it, and it just finished at 2-0 with probably 1 or 2 half chances. It could have changed it the other way, but certainly our 2 keepers were the heroes on the night to keep that down to 2-0.
Yeah, like you say, you have to take into account that we have been playing, with the exception of Wick, obviously, we have been playing teams that have all been a higher league than us. So, yeah. Yeah,
so it's a good test, and we've seen some good things from Warminster there. So I certainly think after the Melksham game, the boys learned a little bit about the pace and the speed of Melksham, and then applied that when Odd Down came.
Yes, yeah, I think we played a bit more like Melksham played against us when we played Odd Down. Yeah, I think it showed, and that's one of the advantages sometimes playing a much better side, a much higher league side, that you can learn from that. So it always pays in pre-seasons to play teams a lot higher than you.
Yeah, you get a better idea of what you can achieve, can't you, and where you can work on things. So, and then if you go then to play your normal level of club, well, hopefully you've raised your standard for the season, as you say. So that's good. Just a brief thought or two. The fixture list is out, although we have to be a little bit disappointed that the Toolstation Western League website is not displaying it yet. Apparently they're making some changes and have left it to the last minute to do that website, so you have to go elsewhere to find the fixtures.
Absolutely, yeah.
Rush, just like to tell us when our first game is.
Yes, it is on the 5th of September, I believe. It's obviously on a Saturday, 1500, at home to Radstock Town.
Yes, look forward to that. Trip for them not to come too far to play. So Radstock's always been a bit of slippery team for us, hasn't it?
Yeah, you never quite know what you're going to get with Radstock.
Yeah. Hot and cold kind of situation with them. We can either get thrashed or we can beat them. I don't know. It's one of those things, I think, with Radstock. I haven't looked at all the form figures on them, but every game I've seen, it's kind of been, one or the other.
Yeah, I seem to remember they were doing quite well last season.
They were, yes. But I think their manager's moved on now, hasn't he? The previous manager. So
that could be interesting.
See how the new one does. I'm sure he'll do a good job. We are looking forward to that game very much. And of course, we would like to mention to everybody and to thank everybody who has subscribed to our YouTube channel, because we're now back live on YouTube with the football.
Yes, finally.
Finally. It's but by other means that YouTube normally recommends. But we are on, and we thank everybody who subscribed. The subscriber numbers are going up, the viewer numbers has gone up considerably, and the length of time people watch the games for, because of the better video quality, they tend to come in and stay for the whole match, generally speaking. So that's much appreciated. So if anybody wants to look back on the games, on the friendlies that we've been to, you'll be able to watch the entire match on YouTube. Just look up Warminster Town Football Club or pick up the link from our website. And of course, we'll aim to bring you every match wherever possible live on YouTube as well when we get into the league. And of course, if you're listening to this before the Bradford match, which is on Tuesday, which is the 25th of August. Kickoff is 7:30. We'll be live on YouTube for that as well. So I know we have a lot of people who listen in from all over the country. So you'll be able to watch Warminster Town much more often in much better video quality as well. COVID-19, Jamie, what's your thoughts so far on what the league has done with regard to attendances, etc.?
Well, the first 4 pre-seasons we played have obviously all been behind closed doors. Well, you could argue Wick maybe wasn't behind closed doors, but theirs wasn't a ground, it was a public space. So, you know.
There are a few people there, not
Yes,
many.
there were a few people. There was a few, yeah, sort of, I don't know, 40 people, maybe something like that. And it was a large area, so, you know. But yeah, all the other games we played so far have been behind closed doors, with the exception of Westbury. Obviously, as the government and FA announced that fans could come back in again with a maximum of 150, I believe. Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably the right decision. Just let a few people in, see how it goes, see what happens. They can always reverse it if they wish, as long as all the clubs have got appropriate measures in place and they, follow the rules. I don't really see any problem. And, people are sensible.
There's a lot for a club to do. Obviously, the spacing, the supporters play their part by sticking to the rules of keeping a good distance or staying in your little family groups. Obviously, that's allowed. Your support bubbles could go together and stand together. Mm-hmm. But we do encourage supporters to follow the rules, because the last thing we want is somebody looking at the football games taking place and saying, you're not obeying the guidelines, you're not following the rules, we'll stop it.
Yeah, that's not what we want. We don't want another suspension of the league again or anything like that. We want our football back, and it doesn't take much effort to be sensible.
No, not really. No. So we're just a word of encouragement to everyone that does come along is to, and of course, if you come along and find out we've reached the limit, please don't kick off if you can't get in. Start screaming and shouting at the poor person on the gate who's counted 150 and you might be 151 or 2 or whatever. Just respect that fact you weren't there early enough to get in. Mm-hmm. I think some of the clubs will be doing ticketing systems and all kinds of things, but
yeah, I have heard that. Yeah,
where clubs don't normally get 150, it's pretty safe to say they don't worry too much,
Yeah.
But there could be the certain games where it will be that. So just need to be very cautious and careful.
Like local derbies, for example.
That's right. And then the next step is 300, I think. So if we can get safely through this 150 period, then 300's even easier for clubs at our level.
Well, I mean, yesterday's game was a good measure, I think, because normally Warminster versus Westbury gets a good 300 crowd. And there was probably not even 150 there, I wouldn't have said yesterday. So that's a pretty good measure that, people are at least aware of the guidelines, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's important. So, we'll just encourage everyone listening to follow that guidance, and all will be well from many points of view. One, for not catching the virus, because it still is around, we know that, and it is making a bit of a comeback in many places. So we do need to be cautious. I think it is getting a little bit undermined. There are people saying it's not so bad, etc. They're forgetting the hospital's full of people on ventilators and all the other stuff that happened early on. And of course, it doesn't take long for things to drop out of mind, does it?
No, it doesn't. No.
We need to be wary, and be wary of our volunteers at most of these football clubs. They tend to be more mature people, shall we say, who, if they did catch it, would be most at risk. So respect that as well. That'd be good. Well, I think that wraps our little point two up. Jamie, thanks for popping in and discussing it with me today.
You're very welcome.
We look forward to seeing you at the Bradford game, and we'll say bringing that one live. And then we can look forward to a final summary before the season kicks off in our podcast the following week, episode 2. So I hope you'll join me on that one as well.
I certainly will.
Thank you very much indeed. Coming up next is our guest of the week. Well, I'm very pleased to welcome our guest on the podcast today. It's Adam Thurston. Now, Adam describes himself as a groundhopper and lover of non-league football. Now, if you're active on Twitter, you may well have seen him there because his Twitter handle is at @Thurston_1966. Sorry, 1996 in actual fact. 1966 was something more famous, wasn't it? So, welcome, Adam. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Very well indeed. Thanks very much indeed. Looking forward to a football season, which looks like it's going to be underway very shortly as we record this podcast.
Finally.
So we're all looking forward very much to that. I'd like to ask you a few questions, Adam. I've been following you for a while on Twitter and seen what you do and what you say. So I'd like to, first of all, tell us, why are you a groundhopper?
Why? That's actually an interesting question. I don't really have an answer to that one. It all started about 5 years ago. Myself and 3 friends were just stuck with something to do one Friday night in early January 2015. And we noticed that Cardiff City had a game on in the FA Cup that Friday night. So we all just went along to it, which was our first ever neutral game. And it's just stemmed from there, really. I think I went to around 20 different grounds after discovering there was something called Doing the 92, which was going to all the Premier League and Football League grounds. So the first season was just spent doing that. And then over the last 4 years, I've gradually just worked my way across the country and across different leagues. So, yeah, why I do it is a really tough question. It's just I found a love for it. I've taken breaks from it to play and to do other things, but I always seem to just get drawn back to it for some reason.
Right. If it brings you
happiness,
happiness.
to be unavoidable.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, excellent. Do you know how many grounds you've actually visited now? Have you ever kept a tally?
I have. I think from last night, I went to AEK Bocco against Cadbury Heath last night, which was a new one. And I think that puts me up to 336, I believe. It's either 335 or 336. So not a bad total in 5.5 years.
That's pretty good. Fair few miles under your belt as well, I would imagine, doing that.
Yeah, and 3 different cars.
Wearing them out fast.
Yeah,
oh,
could say that.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, obviously you've seen quite a few places. Out of all the places you've been, is any particular ground that's been your absolute favourite above all? Anything, reason why that would be?
It's one of those questions that I could answer differently every time I answered it, because every ground is so different for different reasons. My favourite for the last few years has been Cologne in the Bundesliga. My friends and I, we do a trip to Germany every single year, apart from this year, actually, for obvious reasons, where we do different Bundesliga grounds. So I think we're up to about 7 or 8 grounds in the Bundesliga. And we absolutely loved Cologne. We loved everything about the city, about that area of West Germany. But the ground itself was just incredible. And it was a second division game against Paderborn. It finished 5-3. It was only about 20 or 25 euros to get in. It was a sellout. Just everything about it was brilliant. However, I then went to Tottenham's ground, the new stadium, in February, and that's something else. It was just quite scary walking from the train station, seeing absolutely nothing. You kind of turn a corner and then it hits you. Where White Hart Lane was, where it almost looked like an office building from the outside to what it is now. That it was worth the wait, that ground. It's pretty special.
Ah, brilliant. Now, shall we just bring down from the level of Tottenham, etc., to non-league, perhaps, Any favourite little ground you've come across where you haven't got the super stands and all of that kind of thing?
Yeah, I absolutely love Twerton Park. Just something really, I don't know, just something special about the old terracing that they've maintained. There's lots of grounds very similar to Twerton Park that are exactly the same in terms of maintaining that kind of the olden days about them. Being 24 myself, I've missed out on a lot of kind of the old classic grounds, but Twerton Park's certainly one of them. Just trying to think kind of at our level as well. Really liked Buckland's ground in the Western League. For that level, that's pretty impressive. Clevedon have got a really good, solid stadium for the level that we're obviously talking about. Yeah, and then I've been to loads up in the north. The north, the quality of the larger grounds, if you like, at kind of step 3 and 4, most of those are really quite impressive too. So again, it's one of those questions, as I say, I can answer it differently every day I answer it. But yeah, there's a lot of special ones out there for different reasons.
Excellent. Yeah, very good. Now, obviously, you've been to many hundreds of grounds and done many miles. Have you got any funny or unusual experiences to relate about your ground hopping trips? Anything come to mind that's always one of those good tales to tell in the pub?
Yeah. There's obviously been a few where kind of games have been postponed and floodlights have gone out. Luckily, touch wood, they've always come back on. For me, other people have failed miserably with that. But I'd say the one story that always sticks out in my mind is when a friend and I went to Brighton against Cardiff on, I think it was New Year's Day or the day before New Year's Eve or something around that time in 2017. We left for Brighton about, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the Friday. By the time it got to about 6 o'clock, the fog had really started. And we turned up to Cobham services to watch the game get postponed. We then tried to go somewhere else. Where did we try and go? We then got on the road to try and go to Billericay. And then we got halfway to Billericay, their game was off. And then we eventually turned the car right back around and ended up going to Reading against Fulham. Then watched the first 45 minutes of that, and then that got abandoned for the same fog. But the frustrating thing with that game was the fact that by the time they postponed it, 2 or 3 minutes later, the fog had cleared. So it was just one of those nights where everything and anything went wrong for us. So I think we ended up driving about 400 miles for absolutely no reason at all.
Just half a game of football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of those. It was when I was doing YouTube at the time. I was filming my match day experiences, so it made for quite an interesting video watching that unfold. So if you typed my name in on YouTube and it's probably just put Brighton afterwards, it would probably appear, and it's quite a funny watch.
Yeah. Well, we've got these stories. That's good, isn't it? So, Adam, what is it that you like best about non-league football?
Normally, it's the fact that you can turn up wherever you want, whenever you want. You pay a £5 to get in. You can have a pint on the terraces. You can stand behind the dugouts. You can hear everything about the game. You can hear the players shouting. You can hear the swearing. You can hear everything and anything from the dugouts. You can go in to you can go and have a chat with anyone you want to in the clubhouse at half time. It's just a totally different experience. You really get to meet different people. You really get to see different parts of the country or the world that you would never see before. It's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain again, but it's kind of that Tuesday night where you can literally pop in the car at 19:40 and 2 minutes later you're at your local club watching sometimes your mates playing as well. It's just one of those things. It's that impromptu decision you can make to go to a game, and you're there within 5 minutes. You've got no issues, and there's less of the kind of the prima donna paying 45 quid, having to pay 40 quid on a train because you can't drive to the ground because of parking restrictions. And there's just something quite special about going to your local club. I think that's the crux of it, really.
Yeah, That's it. Good. And say this.
And you know where your money's going as well.
Yes.
You've got a clear vision of where your £5 on the getting into the ground. You know where that's going. You know where your £2.50 for your Coke or your pint or whatever's going. Whereas when you're watching at the top level, you know that it's just going in the owner's back pockets and it's not going to be actually going anywhere special.
Yeah, no, there's something, and the community spirit that the football club can bring to an area as well. All of that is good.
Exactly.
Yeah, excellent, brilliant stuff. So the future, we've got the season coming up. Are you planning any more trips for this season, or is that a silly question? And is there anywhere you haven't visited yet you'd really like to go?
I think in this climate, I'm going to play each day as it comes. I have got plans for tomorrow. So a friend of mine is currently running to all 92 Football League and Premier League stadiums not in one go, but over kind of a 6-month period. So this weekend, he's just finished his leg in Devon. And the last couple of days has been en route from Exeter to Southampton and Portsmouth. So tomorrow morning, I'm meeting him at St Mary's. We're doing an 11-mile run, and then I'm watching a doubleheader at Baffin's Milton Rovers, who play in the Wessex League Premier Division, and then I think Moneyfields, who play in the Southern Premier Division 1, I believe. So they're both on the Isle of Portsmouth. And I'll be honest, outside of this coming weekend, because of the restrictions only just being lifted, I think that's all I've got planned for a while. Yeah. It's one of those where I'm just going to play it by ear, week by week, because we don't know in the current climate what clubs or what areas are potentially going to put in local lockdowns. With all non-league football especially, there's always the risk, which I don't know if the FA and the leagues are kind of just trying to brush under the carpet a little bit, but we know by the time we get to December and January, the pitches will already be struggling, the rain will be coming in hard. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a very difficult season to plan too much ahead. So fingers crossed we can at least get a full season in. I'd imagine that it will be a fairly local season for me with lots of revisits at local grounds. But I'm hoping to kind of cap off the season with my stag do in April. We've just rebooked from a cancelled one in September this year to April next year. So we're off to Berlin. So hopefully, touch wood, we can get a couple of good games in over there in April, as long as crowds are allowed in by then.
Yeah, well, wish you well on that. Excellent. Well, Adam, thanks very much for sharing your thoughts. It's good to be able to speak to you in person. So we had a little chat on Twitter a few times.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's always good. And if anybody wants to follow Adam, just look at, we'll get it right this time. It's Thurston _1996. And you've probably worked out, he told us he's 24, so that obviously is the year of your birth, isn't it?
That is.
Yeah, my maths isn't too bad. So thanks for joining us, Adam. Do appreciate your time, and take care. Well, there goes the final whistle, and that brings this week's podcast to an end. We've hoped you enjoyed the Warminster Town Football Club Supporter Podcast. So before you go, if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe using your favourite platform. Thanks for listening.